So with CMON's defection to Gamefound, it brought up a question I've been meaning to dive into again for a long time. Kickstarter, Gamefound, Backerkit. Do you really feel like one is better for you as the consumer? Right? We hear all the time about the publishers feel like this, the publishers are seeing this, but as the general consumer, right? What do you actually need to know? Does it actually have any ramification for you as a backer? Or is it just tribalism in a nutshell? Let's talk. Let's go over some numbers too. Guaranteed to screw them up, but we'll try. Let's go. So like I said, CMON's defection over to Gamefound sort of raised this question, right? We're seeing some bigger name projects go there. Why are they going there? Does it actually mean anything to you whatsoever as a backer? Well, truth be told, the answer is yes. But honestly, though, the bigger answer at the same time is absolutely not. People have their preferences, and nowadays, preference is based off of aesthetic mostly. A little bit fancier page. Gamefound has that. Backerkit has that. Kickstarter, well, let's be honest. Kickstarter has been kind of phoning it in for a long time with any sort of interface they have for backers, let alone for publishers. That is the number one comment, the number one point raised if you search Backerkit or Kickstarter versus Gamefound, right? And the majority of the topics that come up are coming from publishers saying, what are the things you're looking for? And number one, first and foremost, is just exactly that. We can have a more robust, more interactive, more broken down page in order to sell our product. And as I just discussed previously on the more recent crowdfunding roundup with Dante's Inferno, right? More and more of these pages are not giving us more and more information necessarily. Like, don't be fooled at the same time. What I'm seeing more and more of is not necessarily more information for backers. I'm seeing lots and lots of more pictures of components of the games, but not more information on how to play the game in and of itself. It leads to the question of if publishers are saying they need more interface and more, customizability on there, and I'm just seeing less about gameplay and more about, well, sheer marketing. Is that really good for me, the consumer? And honestly, the answer is no, because it's a little bit of a selling tactic more than anything else, hence the marketing, right? It's a little bit of a, get you in and get you roped in. Again, I'm coming at this from a consumer's perspective because I respect publishers as a business. I will probably get a couple emails after this video from small publishers saying, hey, Chris, we have to do it like this. And you know what? Just like when I talked about the launch boom, FOMO, pre-launch, reserve your spot for X amount of dollars and get a tiny exclusive, whatever it may be, for maybe less or maybe altogether exclusive. They did it then too. And I understand it. Because now these pages are making it so that is the main attraction. And I don't know, honestly, if that's coming directly from the crowdfunding page. Like they're saying, set your page up like this. I don't know. I've never done an application on one of these websites. I've never tried to get a page approved, right? Do a GoFundMe for this channel instead. Like I'm too poor to try a crowdfunding campaign that's for reals. So I don't know what that looks like, but in my head, I feel like if Gamefound or Kickstarter's bottom line is directly, well, I don't even think, their bottom line is directly related to how much money your project raises, right? A certain percentage fee, flat fee, and also transactional fees. And so they are going to want to help you market things better. And clearly this works because almost all of the big campaigns now do it, right? You have oodles and oodles and oodles of pages of content before you actually get to anything necessarily terribly relevant. Now, not everybody, but a terrible amount are doing that. As we scroll down here, I am just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, getting through the pledges, getting through the content, getting through the unlocks. I have not hit gameplay yet, folks, and I've been talking now for 15 or 20 seconds. So finally, we start getting down here. Oh, there's a video. There's some more stuff. There's some more add-ons. Then we get to the gameplay. And that is a freaking metric ton of information, because that's literally me scrolling as fast as I can for that long. These are designed that way on purpose. If it wasn't successful, they wouldn't do it. If interested consumers said, if you don't show me more of the gameplay, I'm not going to back your product. Guess what doesn't happen? That. And granted, there is still an adequate amount nowadays, but as a whole nother side tangent into another video, without spoiling it here too, more and more of the content is becoming, well, paid previews and less informative about the product in the first place. Now you can always watch a rule book. There will be one inevitable playthrough, but there's less that is necessarily reflective of the ratio of content that is on the page, right? There is this much not going to help you make a decision. There is this much helping you make a decision there, right? See the difference there? Not very much. And so that doesn't really sit well with me in the end of things. And that's why I routinely call it out on a crowdfunding roundup on a weekly basis about the pages that are some of the offenders in that regard. Now, that's an aesthetic thing, right? That's a marketing thing. But let's talk about from the, okay, what are these incentives for publishers, right? So pulling up Backerkit, pulling up Kickstarter, pulling up Gamefound, what are the differences here? Why are some companies migrating? Is it that big of a deal, Chris, or not? Now, the biggest thing that I cannot account for, dollars and cents wise, right, is the fact that when people talk crowdfunding, still in the layperson lingo, the most common adjective used is kickstart. Did you kickstart that? Did you Kickstarter? You know, whatever it may be. And so Kickstarter has the ubiquitousness, the market share of things across the board. And it's become the Google of searching, if you will, or the Kleenex, or anything along those lines. So that relevance, that just presence and availability and knowledge of it in the first place brings a significant amount of income to projects just by the sheer fact they are on that website. And so Kickstarter, as well as Gamefound, I believe at the time of me filming this, that is what they both have along those lines. Kickstarter and Gamefound have a 5% standard fee, right? And then each of them also have a payment processing, 3% plus 20 cents per transaction. So more transactions, if you back stuff extra, if you add extra funds later, they get an extra cut, 20 cents for each time you do it or each backer that does it. And those are pretty similar. The tie-in, though, the make it or break it, though, seems to be more of the late campaign pages, the involved or the included pledge manager for Gamefound. Whereas you're not getting nickel and dimed elsewhere on another platform or potentially a similar platform for additional fees transactionally with a pledge manager. Backerkit actually does something different, which begs the question why people necessarily aren't going over to Backerkit at this point. Backerkit actually has a campaign fee that is, well, sliding scale, if you will. The more your project raises, the less their rate. And it actually goes down from anywhere between 2% if you raise 50 grand or less. And if you raise $2.5 million above, it goes to 1.1%. That's a lot less than a 5% fee, folks. Whew. Why aren't people taking more advantage of that? They're also having a slightly higher transaction fee at 3.5%. So again, nuts and bolts, they seem rather similar, Chris. So again, why are people porting over? Honestly, folks, part of the answer is I don't have a freaking clue. And that's interesting, but it also just makes you go, should I even care? Chris, does it really matter where the project is? No, and that goes back to where I was talking about at the beginning of this tribalism. Somehow, because Gamefound has done a great thing and given competition, followed by Backerkit, to Kickstarter, somehow because Gamefound only does tabletop games, and they are from tabletop game makers in the first place, Awakened Realms, putting it out there, that we have somehow more of an allegiance to them, or people feel like they should have an allegiance to them, or somehow they're just purely better. You know, okay, well, maybe the comment section is better, well moderated. Maybe the updates are easier to follow. Maybe the emails should actually include the full update instead of making me click an extra link, Gamefound. But those are the things that people are sort of trending towards. And sort of this pendulum has gone all the way back, right? Like, oh, Kickstarter is awful. Well, Kickstarter isn't awful, though. Because I would argue that, again, the amount of eyes on those projects is still massively more than anywhere else. And that accounts for some of the increased money raised, period. That's indisputable. From even a couple campaigns that have gone over from Kickstarter to Gamefound. And, you know, that's not to say that that's all that happens, because it's vice versa as well. But it just raises the point of why. And again, I don't think there's a great answer. Plenty of the interviews that are smattered across the web that I read researching this basically kind of summarize the exact same points I mentioned. Broader audience versus more niche versus giving you a better platform. And you know what? Let's talk about the 2 actual websites right now. 3 will include Backerkit. I keep forgetting about it. Sorry. But you know what? When we sit down, both of them share similarities of things I like and things I hate. Both of them, as I mentioned, with the Dante's Inferno situation. Dante's Inferno right now, the page, if you go over to Gamefound, has a funded in 1 minute thing. Putting that on there is becoming a detriment to campaigns, small publishers. It is a double-edged sword for backers. If they see something isn't funded, they automatically start going, well, why isn't it funded? I don't know, it must not be a good project. And so you have these just exponential decrees about how fast or how many percentage points it is funded, because somehow that attracts people. But again, it's being brought about and encouraged by, I think, both of these companies. And so I understand it, again, from their bottom line, but it doesn't make me feel any better. I don't think it's a positive consumer thing as a whole. And small publishers, I think, would agree with me with this, because they feel the pressure. If they don't have 100% funding in like the first hours, it sometimes can feel like a success, or it can sometimes completely throw off their campaign, because now they're having to potentially, and a lot of them have done this, and we've seen it, because then on the opposite side, they get critiqued for, well, you were funded, why did you cancel? Because they had to artificially lower their funding goal to get the X percentage to gain the momentum that they needed in order to actually get and beyond what they need in the first place to be successful. But if they don't have that, then it all gets kaput. But if they, don't have that little sticker of, exclusive, or we love this, or whatever else it may be, of funded in X seconds under the hour of dawn, whatever, then, it really puts a big chip on their shoulder. And there are plenty of fantastic things that have funded not at thousands of % over their funding goal, because most of that is just pure, again, marketing manipulation. Remember when CMON's funding goal used to be like $20,000, right? That's one of the things I talk about that I give kudos for all the time on crowdfunding campaigns, no matter the size. True funding goal, right? Not nickel and diming me in terms of leaking out the expansions and the add-ons, as well as putting your product first and foremost and saying, why should I get it? Let's get to the nitty-gritty pros and cons then. Pro, right? Gamefound, tabletop only. It's easier because everything on there is stuff you're potentially interested in if you're looking at that. Kickstarter doesn't have it. Backerkit doesn't have it. Big pro there. Gamefound, big pro. Their campaign pages allow people to follow, allow people to interact, allow you to get updates prior to the campaign launching, allow you to get rewarded for following very easily connected to the campaign. Gives you more information, more of a breakdown that you can navigate through the page. Kickstarter is improving. Backerkit, you just get a little page and it just says click to follow, and that's all you get. Same thing with Kickstarter. Those are both horrible interfaces. The interface of both, or even all 3 websites, is otherwise, well, meh, right? Because Kickstarter, it just whatever. You're either sorting by new, even tabletop is a whole. You get all the tabletop RPGs, you get designs, you get the STLs, you get everything along the sun in that. And so you can't strip it down and find what you're looking for half the time, because nowadays you're saturated with these very, very small projects all over the place. Again, nothing against them, but there's no way of easily sorting. Even sometimes the search function is incredibly difficult because it only searches active projects. It only searches just the exact definition of what those letters are. And if it's any character off or even part of it, it won't find it. Gamefound is very similar though. The searching filters is kind of meh. If you click on the main page, half the time they're promoting stuff that isn't even active in the last couple months. It's just the biggest funding stuff. That's all they put out there because again, percentage. If they get you on the percentage, then they get more money. And so I understand why they do it. But if you go to those pages, it's hard to actually find which ones are fully active on Gamefound because they have more of them that are upcoming and late pledged way past than the ones that are going. Kickstarter, you can get more of an audience. Kickstarter has the broadest audience. For smaller games, they have clearly the best chance of getting funded on Kickstarter, period, because of eyes, because of eyeballs. Gamefound has, not done the best with some of those smaller publishers. Backerkit, same way. Backerkit has less even recognition. Sometimes I forget Backerkit to do even on the roundup half the time. And then I have to all of a sudden, jump over and say, oh my gosh, I've almost forgot you. Sort of like, Kevin from Home Alone. So that's the trouble. And with Gamefound, like you go there and you get the one page you're looking for. Kickstarter, a lot of people browse Kickstarter in general. So it has that appeal that the others just don't. Say what you will, although again, it's getting harder. It's getting harder and harder to, totally recommend that. Gamefound has the other pro. Gamefound has the built-in pledge manager. Kickstarter doesn't. And that's kind of where it comes down to. Backerkit, again, built in. Backerkit, scaling fees. Okay. Kind of slightly higher transactional. So again, do any of those things though. Do any of those things make it or break it for you. Because if you're really interested in a project, folks, you know how to find it. You can just Google it. It'll pop up. You don't need to search these websites. But if you're trolling for, if you're just randomly browsing, Kickstarter still has the edge. How much longer is that going to be, though? I don't know. Gamefound has definitely taken a market's share of things. Based on just guesstimated fees, based on the little that I know of what I just mentioned earlier in the video, the latest CMON campaign port over, Song of Ice and Fire, probably netted them somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 right now. If I'm halfway appropriating that right. I'm probably not, but I'm ballparking it for you guys because I don't totally stick my foot in my mouth. Now, you may go, that raised $1.8 million and they got $50,000, $60,000, sure, whatever, right, Chris? That's not significant. It is, folks. It is. It's a domino. Because now all CMON's campaigns are going to be over there. So that is $50,000, I don't know, 4 to 6 times a year. Let's say 6 times a year. Ish. It's $300,000. Doesn't count Chip Theory. Doesn't count several of the other ones, doesn't count even the pledge manager stuff. Like when ISS Vanguard happened, remember ISS Vanguard? Tons of money getting thrown in the pledge manager there, more so than the actual campaign. So the fact that you're seeing that transactional fee, right? That is not insignificant because one of the other pieces of advice I often tell people, right, is don't back as much during the campaign. Add on later. Well, that add on later, especially if you do that once or twice, you're going to get a little cut each time. I think. So it's food for thought. Again, does it affect you? No, that percentage cut doesn't, get affected from your aspect of things whatsoever. So again, as a consumer, well, sure, whatever. But at the same time, then, does it really matter? Because again, it's not like Backerkit campaigns, at least they have broadcast this, because if you did this, I would imagine that you would broadcast this, right? Hey guys, we're going over to Backerkit and we're going to raise a bunch of money. And because our campaign fees are overall going to be lower and our transaction fees are going to be, whatever, we're anticipating the overall cost from that side of things to be lower. So we're going to pass the savings on to you. One, I haven't seen any game, any publisher do that in any shape or form on any of the 3 platforms, right? And 2, it also raises an interesting point. How could you prove that? Right? Hey guys, we're going to subsidize your shipping based off of the lower fee that we're paying here compared to the other one. Do you know what shipping actually costs for this? Could you fact check that if they had to? Or if they said, guys, we're taking $3 off of your pledge, $5 off of your pledge based on the lower fees that we're anticipating on this crowdfunding website versus the other. There's no way of you fact checking that. So you're going off of, honesty. And do you believe them? And again, is it a marketing thing? It's why, folks, things are priced at $59.99, not $60. Because again, so from a psychological standpoint, if I tell you it's $60 with free shipping versus $45 with $15 shipping, somehow the free shipping side of things is much more marketable and much more, yeah, I'm getting a good deal. So I feel like that aspect of things would be the same, right? We're going to save you, $3 in shipping. Pledge levels are going to be all $3 higher. I'm making this up. There's no example that I have in any sense of that. But as a person now in this end stage capitalistic, cynical market, it's just stuff that goes through my head as, again, a glass half empty sort of person sometimes, right? My wife is the glass half full person. Bless her heart. Balances us out. So, again, to the end, does it really have a huge difference? No. Support the publishers you want. Support the companies you want. You be aware of these things. Don't be surprised if you see some moving around because of any of these aspects. But always ask the question, is it right for me? Is it right for me? Because the bottom line of it is, all of these are companies, right? And all of them are trying to make money. They're trying to make money selling you a product. I'm not telling you they're going out and getting rich. I'm not telling you they're going out and, whatever, right? But it's a business. And if it wasn't done in that manner to make you want to buy it as much as possible, it wouldn't be the way it is, and it wouldn't be making money, and it wouldn't stay in business. So don't be FOMO'd by this stuff. Don't go into the tribalism. I'm only going to back Kickstarter. I'm only going to back Gamefound, because again, you'll miss out on some wonderful on both sides of things. And Backerkit too, right? Almost forgot about him again. So there you go. Rant, ramble, a little bit of everything all rolled in one. Probably too much information and too much randomness, but that's what you get on Liege Games channel, right, baby? So you expect nothing less. And if you're new and you watch this and you made it to the end, you're like, this guy is crazy. You're right, I am a little crazy, but it's fun. I like talking about board games, folks. I'm passionate about it. And if that's the only take-home message you get out of this video, you can let me know down in the comment section. Chris is passionate. Peace out. Yep. It's that time of the year. Stay classy. Thanks for watching.